Hello and a very warm welcome to you, my dear students. If you remember the last chapter that we discussed about the state government, and this is the last chapter of civics for your entire 8th standard, that is your history and civics, the last chapter. I have 3 more chapters of history to be completed before you write in your final papers. But let me begin today with the last chapter of civics, chapter number 6, which is bureaucracy. Now, in order to make you understand, my dear students, you would have heard about the word bureaucrats. So, who are these bureaucrats? These bureaucrats are those official people who are highly qualified. This system where these bureaucrats are working or rather functioning are called as bureaucrats, and the function that they carry out, the entire system, is called as bureaucracy. Now, if you look at the word bureaucracy, I have tried here to jot down a very important point. I'm trying to bring the camera closer. So, what is bureaucracy? It is a system of government in which most of the important decisions are taken by the state officials rather than by the elected representatives, which means very clearly that the prime minister and the president, no doubt, are the topmost executives of our country. And if you are aware and if you remember, I did mention that they remain in the office, my dear student, for a period of 5 years. Vice versa, the member, that is a person who qualifies the exam of civil services. There are 24 civil services exam that a person once passes, he gets into the bureaucracy. Now, in your textbook, there are 4 examples that are being cited. Now, if you look at these 4 examples which are cited in your textbook, which talks about the district collector. So, a collector of a district, what he can do, he can order curfew if at all there is any kind of problem that is there in the district. Municipal commissioner, he presents the budget. Now, in Mumbai, we have the municipal corporation or the municipality. There is a budget which has been no doubt presented by the mayor and the other corporators who are in the standing committee, but it is the municipal commissioner who presents the budget. Now, who can become a municipal commissioner? Who can become a district collector? It is none other than, my friend, a person who qualifies the civil service examination. So you can understand that the civil service examination is one of the highest exam that has been conducted at the central level. Now, let me tell you in a very simple word, my dear students, this is just to tell you that in the last 25 years that I'm teaching in Dominic Savio Vidyalaya, we have not been able to produce a single IS and IPS or an IFS officer. This is the tragedy of Dominic Savio Vidyalaya. We have doctors, innumerable doctors in various fields, heart specialist, eye surgeon, ENT. We have chartered accountants, innumerable. We have fashion designer, DJs. In every profession, we have a student who are excelling and doing well. This is the right time, my dear student, for you to decide as to how many of you would like to become an IS, IFS officer. In order to become an IS officer, you need to qualify the exam of UPSC, that is Union Public Service Commission. And once you pass that, you become an IS officer. You are called as a bureaucrat. And where are you working? You're functioning as a bureaucracy. Now, what is your job? You are not going to, be remaining in the office for a period of 5 years. But as and when the need arises, you may be shifted from one department to the other, but you remain till the age of your retirement. Now, sir, not mentioned in the textbook. So, how can I qualify this exam? In very clear words, my dear students, your minimum age should be 21 and maximum 31. You can appear for this exam, that is UPSC exam, and once you qualify, you get a better ranking, you will get the better positioning, my friend. And here are the different positions that have been allotted. You can become the district collector, you can become a municipal commissioner, you can become a finance secretary, you can become a divisional commissioner. And what are the responsibilities and the job of this? It's given in your textbook, my dear student. I don't want you to take into that. What I want to make you understand, my dear student, once the concept is clear as to, sir, how can I become a bureaucrat? How can I become an officer? How can I qualify this exam? I've just mentioned here about 3 exams: IS, IFS, and IPS. Sir, what is IS? It is Indian Administrative Service. I'll just jot it down here on the blackboard so that Indian Administrative Service. I'm just writing it a little faster, my dear student. So, what is IFS? Indian Foreign Services. So, what is IPS? Indian Police Services. So, what you become, sir? You become an IAS officer once you qualify this exam, my dear student. And what is your responsibility? What is your role? You play a very important role in all the decisions that have been taken by the government. Do you think we have qualified MPs, MLAs? Do you think they are educated, highly qualified? No. Rather, or most of the time, my dear student, these officers are being called upon because their views are being taken into consideration, because they qualify the exam. And let me tell you, on an average, my friend, I'm just giving you an example. Out of lakhs of students who appear for this exam, only few qualify for these examinations, my dear student. So you can imagine that it's not an easy exam. It's not for every Tom, Dick and Harry. Anyone can become an IAS officer. You really need to slog. You really need to work hard. You really need to give your 100%, my dear student, in order to get a job in bureaucracy. So now let me ask you a simple question. What is the responsibility, sir, of the government? The government has two responsibilities, my friend. The one of the first and the most important responsibility that the government has is the government is supposed to protect its citizen from internal and external aggression. See, I have written here. What is the important task of the government? It is to defend the country. From what it has to defend the country, sir? It has to defend the country from external, bahari, out, external aggression, external attack. Let's say Pakistan, other neighboring countries, if they attack a country, what is the responsibility of the government? To protect us, to defend our country. Second, it is to protect our country from internal threats. Whenever there is an violence, any kind of war that sometimes takes place between one state and the other, one religion person and the other religion, it is the responsibility of the government to protect. And the most important job of the government is to provide the services to the citizen. And in order to provide the services to the citizen, it needs a system of administration, or an administrative system is required, my dear student. Teacher's job, teach you. Principal job is to see that the school is functioning smoothly. So most of the time, the principal's responsibility is that of the administrative function, to see that everything is functioning smoothly. Now, in order to become an officer, or rather, you need to qualify the civil services. And what are the civil services? As I said, it includes services like IAS, IFS, and IPS officer. Repeating it again, my dear student, not a single student till date today, 25 years multiply by 200 number of students every year that pass out from Dominic Savio, not a single candidate. Though I had in the previous batches one girl and one particular boy, I would not like to name them, but hoping, I always pray to the God, at least one student from Dominic Savio Vidyalaya, let be qualified for this exam, my dear student. So this civil services exam, once you clear, you become a bureaucrat, or rather, you're working in the bureaucracy. I hope this much is clear to you, my dear student. Now, let me make you understand as to what responsibilities are being assigned to them. Let me make you understand, sir, what are the opportunities, that an individual will get once he becomes a bureaucrat, or rather, he becomes an officer. So the responsibility of the government is very important, my dear student. Now, when I'm talking about the government, sir, what is it? As I mentioned, that the government has to protect us from internal as well as external aggression. At the same time, as I said, that it needs to take care that the life of the citizen is at ease. What it will do, sir, it will enable us to develop. It will enable the society to grow. It will make possible for the individual to grow. Now, there are certain characteristics of bureaucracy. Now, what is permanent mechanism? What is permanent mechanism? A mechanism which is permanent. So, in the textbook, it says that to tax collection, environment protection, maintenance of law and order provision regarding social security are important tasks that to be constantly undertaken by the bureaucracy. So, the responsibility of the bureaucracy is constant. It cannot change. And this can only be possible, my dear student, because of the bureaucracy is a permanent mechanism. See, once the decision is being taken by the government, it is the responsibility of these bureaucrats to see that this law is not just being implemented, but it needs to be carried. Now you also, when you're reading the textbook, you'll come under this, all these sentences. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers change after every elections. But under the bureaucracy, the control of the bureaucrat, the officer is the same. And therefore, what is that? It's a permanent in nature. That means that though the minister may resign, let's say for example in state government, Devendra Fadnavis was the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. He is no more now the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Now who has taken over the charge? Mr. Uddhavji Thackeray. Now it is not possible that if Uddhavji Thackeray has become the new Chief Minister, there should be a new Chief Bureaucrat. Okay, or there should be a new bureaucrat. And at the same time, what is the responsibility of politics? The politics cannot interfere with the matter of the bureaucrats. Let me put you in a form of a small story so that you understand, my dear student, that whether you're going to nominate yourself as an MLA, you're going to nominate yourself as an MP, you're going to nominate yourself as the Prime Minister, you're going to nominate yourself as a President, it is the responsibility of the Prime Minister, the President, to stand and give their forms. Whereas the IAS officer will be seated on his chair. Can you imagine, my dear student, what position does the bureaucrat, does the IAS officer has? So by nature, the politics, though, may interfere in terms of replacing them from one place to the other or from one area to the other. But it says that the bureaucracy is politically neutral. The bureaucrats do not interfere whether it is BJP party, whether it is Shiv Sena party, whether it is Congress party, whether it is NCP party. It is regardless of the political party in power. It will still continue, it will carry out the job, it will implement, it will take the decision, and it will do its task with total responsibility. The next it says is anonymity. Anonymity means that a civil servant or a civil servicer should not be held directly responsible for any success or failure of policy. See, policies is made in the parliament. Try to understand, my dear student. Now, when the policies are made in the parliament, what do? They implement it. So, the policy may be a great success. So, can the credit be taken by the civil servant or the officer? No, we cannot take the credit also. If it is a failure, can the responsibility be imposed upon on a bureaucrat? No. Because whether it is a success or a failure, the responsibility cannot be put or blame could not be put on the bureaucrat, my friend. If the minister who is responsible for the smooth functioning of the concerned department, it is the minister who is the head of the department and is accountable for any inefficiency. Please remember this. Because he prepares the plan, he prepares the project, and then he gives it forward. Now, what is the importance of Indian bureaucracy? You need to understand, my dear student. I'm going a little faster. Significance of Indian bureaucracy. The structure of Indian bureaucracy is extensive and complex. Sir, what it means by the word extensive? That means it is not related to the borders and the boundaries of that particular department. It extends. That means an officer can be transferred from one department to another department where they feel that his services is required the most. I'll just a little bit shift the camera. 1 second, my dear students. Yes, thank you. Now, the responsibility of the government is, today we see that there are many positive social changes reaching to the common people. All this is possible because of the bureaucrats. Let me tell you, my dear student, in a very simple line. Many a times this member of parliament, many a times member of legislative assembly, they are in the post, but they don't know how to implement certain projects. So in these cases, the civil services officer, IS, IPS and IFS officers are being invited. Their opinion is being taken into consideration. And these changes are being brought about by the Indian bureaucracy by implementing the policies that have been made by the government. The laws enacted by the government for empowerment of women, child security, plans for the marginalized section. Who are marginalized? People, who are rich and poor. There is a big gap, and that is why the responsibility of the government is very, very important, because they play an important role, my dear student. Who plays an important role? The bureaucrats, or rather the bureaucracy plays an important role. Just give me 1 minute. You can have a look here. As I said, what is it? It's a system of government in which most of the important decisions are taken by state officials. They are not taken by the elected representatives. That is why they play a very important role. Please try to understand, my dear students. Now, when we talk about the types of civil services, I need to make you understand, sir, as to what are the types of civil services. In the beginning, I just gave you an idea, a briefing, right? I talked about that IS, IFS, and IPS. I said there are 24 sectors in which these positions are being given to the person who qualifies. Exams are conducted at the central level and also at the state level. When I talk about the administrative system at the central level, it is UPSC, Union Public Services Commission examination. When I talk about Maharashtra, it is Maharashtra Public Service Commission examination. I'll give you just 1 minute. I'll erase this whiteboard and I'll give you a better picture or a better understanding. My dear student, I want at least one student from your club, your class, your group turns out tomorrow, maybe not immediately today, but when you complete your graduation and maybe within a year or two, you become an IS officer. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear to you, my dear student. Now let me bring this camera once again a little closer. Now, if you look at this board, my dear students, I would like to show you that what are the different types of civil services, sir? The different types of civil services. The very first we talk about, again, sir, here have a look. It's Teen Ka Funda. Sir, what is this Teen Ka Funda? The All India Services. Now, what All India Services, sir? That means that exams body that conducts exam at the 3 different level. It conducts exam at the All India Services at the All India level. Then there are exams which are conducted by the union or by the central services. And then finally there is exam which is conducted by the state civil services. I'll bring the camera closer, my friend, each time that I'm teaching with one particular point in detail. Now when I talk about the All India Services, now this All India Services includes the various examinations that have been conducted and you get the various posts. IS officer you can become. You qualify this exam, Indian Administrative Service exam. You can qualify IPS exam, that is Indian Police Service examination. You can qualify IFS exam, that is Indian Forest Services. They all come under the category of All India Services. Now bringing the camera here closer. Now when we are talking about union or central services, it conducts 2 exams, that is, sir, IFS, Indian Foreign Services. Second, IRS, that is Indian Revenue Services. And here you can see the third exam which is conducted. This is written by a little lighter pen. I'll try to bring the camera as closer I can, my dear students. Please try to cooperate. The State Civil Service exam. Now, State Civil Service exam, if you look at it, my dear student, you can see here, you can become a Deputy District Collector, you can become a BDO, Block Development Officer, or you can also become Tehsildar. Now, these are exams which are conducted by the state government. I hope I'm very clear, my friend. Now, there is a very big doubt that many students they have in their mind. Sir, what is UPSC? Is it an exam? No. UPSC is not an exam, my dear student. Let me tell you very clearly. UPSC is a body which conducts examination for the recruitment of IS, IPS and IF officer. So what is UPSC? UPSC is Union Public Service Commission. It is a body. What body? It conducts exam. And what it does the recruitment and the appointment of the candidate. So for what services? For All India Services, for Union or Central Services. Sir, then what about the State Civil Services? State Civil Services, for example, in Maharashtra, we have a body which is called as Maharashtra Public Service Commission. So it conducts the exam at the state level, and once you get selected through this competitive exam, you can become a BDO, you can become a Tehsildar, you can become a district collector. I hope I'm very clear about it, my dear students. Somebody is just suggesting me, sir, when you write it on the blackboard or on the whiteboard, sir, why don't you stand at the side so that the student get a chance to see? I'm just trying, to be in the frame so that at least you're aware of it. Now, why am I showing you this, my dear students? You need to know that. Though we have all this system, as I mentioned. So, what age you can appear for the exam? From age of 21 to 31. But if you belong to the scheduled caste or a scheduled tribe, there is a policy of reservation. That means till the age of 35, you can appear for this examination. Why? Because sometime in their life, the people belonging to the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribe, the OBC, they were deprived of the right to education. Now, as I mentioned before, and I'm repeating it again, my friend, that the bureaucrats play a very important role. Why do they play an important role? Because they play a very important role as to coordinate with the government ministers and to see that these policies are being implemented. So there has to be a very good relation between the ministers and the department secretaries and deputy secretaries. The decision that are taken by the department is made by the concerned minister. So what he needs to do is he needs to provide the necessary information about the decisions that has been taken by the government. So when the government tells the bureaucrat see to it that the civil servant or the bureaucrat, the officer sees to it that it is being implemented. The civil servants. Now, what is the meaning of the word servant? Sevak. He has control of total information. It is the civil servant, my friend, or a bureaucrat or a bureaucracy which has the total control of the financial for a provision of any scheme or plan. Though the plan can be made by Minister A or Minister B or Minister C, but the entire finance control is in the hands of the bureaucrat. Are you getting, my dear student? Sir, the money can, like, so for example, here your bureaucrat can be your dad and your minister is, let's say, home minister is your mommy. So the money is given by dad. Let's say he's an IS officer, he gives it to mom and the mom spends it. But the total responsibility of the failure of what she brings from the market, if it's not of good quality, cannot be put on dad. Try to understand, my dear student. So civil servants are aware of the history of success and failures of the various policies. And therefore, there are many ministers who are rather dependent on these civil servants, my friend. And if the ministers maintain a dialogue with the civil servant, if there is a mutual understanding, there's a mutual trust, and if there is a transparency between the ministers and the bureaucrats, the officers, what will happen? The policies that are being made at the central level or at the state level will be a huge success, my dear students. So in the task of the officer, the bureaucrat, you can just imagine, my dear student, that how important role can a bureaucrat, can an IS officer or an IPS officer can play. Now, just to add to your knowledge, I hope you will surely check it out. I would definitely, it would have been a different scenario altogether if I might have met each one of you in the class. But I'm really thankful to many of you for sending me, sir, good lesson. Somebody said, sir, we like you to see live on the camera, and that is why I decided that let me teach you this lesson, not through the textbook pages or other making a PPT, but I decided let me come live on camera. I hope you have done well in your unit test. Now the last, just for your extra information, as I mentioned that if you qualify any of these exams, and as I mentioned again, I'm repeating it, for the last 25 years, we have not been able to produce a single IS and IPS officer. Just to provide you a little extra information, sir, who is the present Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai? It is Mr. Iqbal Chahal. Okay, please remember this name. Sir, who is Mr. Iqbal Chahal? Chahal. Chahal. Presently, Iqbal Chahal is the Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai. Okay, please remember this name. This is the extra information. And a person who is going to take over the charge of Mumbai as the municipal, as the police commissioner of Mumbai is Parambir Singh. Okay. If I'm not wrong, it is Parambir, Parambir Singh. It is Mr. Barve right now, who is the commissioner of Mumbai. But from the 28th of Feb, Mr. Parambir Singh is going to take over the charge as the new police commissioner of Mumbai. And sir, who is the present municipal commissioner? It is Mr. Iqbal Chahal. Now, why are you talking about these two gentlemen, sir? These people have qualified their examination. In order to become, you have to pass the IAS exam, Indian Administrative Service exam, in order to become the municipal commissioner. And in order to be the commissioner of Mumbai, you need to be an IPS officer, that is Indian Public Service or Police Services examination, my dear student. I hope your concepts are clear. This was the last chapter of Civics. I have already sent the notes on the 13th of February, Saturday, on your WhatsApp group of chapter number 5, the state government, the 6th chapter. You will get it immediately the next day. As I promised and I mentioned, my dear student, please maintain a notebook. I will send a message across to you as to when you need to drop in your notebook. Please, if you have any doubt pertaining to any chapter from chapter number 3, 4, 5 and 6, because these chapters are there for your final exam, my dear students. So if you have any doubt, you want to clarify any doubt, you can take down my phone number and please give your honest and sincere feedback. It's my humble request to please prescribe to my channel. I hope your concepts are clear. meet you in the next chapter of history where I will begin. By that time, have a good day.